It is said that all who live ultimately belong to the undying king, Nagash, god of death, lord of the underworld, the Black Judge. In the mortal realms of the Age of Sigmar, that grim axiom was not merely a belief, it became truth. In the shadowed era that followed the Realmgate Wars, a darkness deeper than any before began to spread. It was more than mere war. It was a reckoning, an age of dread where the winds of death howled across creation and magic itself turned against the living. Souls cried out in the night, the dead stirred in ancient graves, and across the skies, baleful lights danced like omens of the end. The mortal realms shuddered. This is part of our series chronicling the legendary sagas of the Age of Sigmar, the rise of gods, the fall of empires, and the eternal war that defines the mortal realms. From the forging of the Stormcast to the dawn of the Soulblight, each episode uncovers another layer of the ever-burning storm of war. Today, we descend into a time of dread, where the dead do not rest, and souls are the currency of gods. This is the Soul Wars. From his obsidian throne in the heart of Shyish, realm of death, Nagash brooded. Ever patient, ever plotting, the great necromancer is not a god of impulse or chance. He is deliberate, a being who sees eternity not as a limit, but as a tool. His plans stretch across centuries. His grudges are carved in tombstone. Since the age of myth, Nagash had suffered slights too great to forget. The dark gods of chaos had stolen countless souls to feast upon in their twisted realms. The elven deities had stolen souls to serve their own strange agendas. And worst of all, Sigmar, once his reluctant ally, had robbed Nagash directly, plucking fallen heroes from the jaws of death and reforging them into Stormcast Eternals. To Nagash, this was not heroism, it was theft. Every soul, every death was his rightful due. And so, beneath the surface of Shyish, Nagash laid the groundwork for a plan that would reclaim what was his. A grand ritual, apocalyptic in scope. A great work of necromancy that would make him not only the god of death, but its absolute master, lord of every soul in every realm for all time. At the heart of Nagash's plan lay the unique and potent magic of Shyish. All realms possess Realmstone, physical manifestations of their core essence, and in Shyish, that substance was grave sand. Saturated with death magic, grave sand accumulates in vast, necrotic deserts on the realm's periphery, drifting like black dunes through the land of endings. At Nagash's command, endless lines of skeletal servitors marched across these deserts, silently harvesting the precious grains. Over centuries, the harvested grave sand was carried in solemn procession to Nagash's Czar, where it was fused into a dark, glassy material called shade glass, a substance steeped in death magic. From this unnatural material, Nagash raised an edifice that defied both nature and sanity, the Black Pyramid. It was no temple, it was no monument, it was a weapon, a construct of arcane precision designed to reshape reality itself. Suspended upside down above the earth like a dagger poised to plunge, the Black Pyramid was a spell-given form. Through it, Nagash intended to reverse the natural flow of Shyish's death magic, funneling all the realm's energies inward, concentrating power at a single nexus, power that only he could command. But such a vast ritual could not be kept hidden forever. As the Black Pyramid neared completion, the realms began to tremble. Prophets, priests, and seers across all grand alliances received horrifying visions. Malign portents manifested in every land. Corpse comets blazing across the skies, the dead whispering secrets to the living, statues weeping blood, and animals born twisted and malformed. The veil between the worlds thinned, and death's touch became ever more present. The gods took notice. From the shining towers of Azir to the brutal war camps of destruction, forces were mustered. Armies of order, chaos, and all others raced to the borders of Shyish. They knew not the full truth of Nagash's work, only that doom approached, and that the great necromancer stood at its heart. Too late. Nagash's plan, centuries in the making, was nearly complete. His ritual was already in motion. The Black Pyramid pulsed with power, its inverted peak thrumming with necromantic energy. Every grain of grave sand, every etched rune, every soul spent in its making had brought him to this moment. And so, the great work was enacted. At the apex of his ritual, Nagash channeled his vast godly power into the Black Pyramid. In theory, it would draw death magic inward, a vortex that would collapse the afterlife into a singularity of control. His control. The laws of mortality would bow to him. The endless cycle of life, death, and rebirth would be broken. No more theft, no more chaos, just Nagash. But fate is cruel, and even gods are vulnerable to hubris. Unbeknownst to Nagash, his grand structure had been infiltrated. Drawn by the irresistible lure of Shadeglass and Realmstone, a clan of Skaven from the technomantic clans Scryer had burrowed into the pyramid's undercroft. Ratfolk, cunning and deranged, corrupted by chaos and driven by hunger, the Skaven did what they always do: sabotage. At the very moment Nagash's incantation reached its climax, the Skaven struck. They shattered key Shadeglass nodes, disrupting the delicate balance of necromantic power surging through the structure. The consequences were apocalyptic. The ritual spiraled out of control. Instead of neatly reversing the flow of magic, the pyramid acted as a magical drill, boring through the very fabric of Shyish. Death magic screamed through the realm like a hurricane. At its epicenter, a new phenomenon was born, a black whirlpool of soul energy, a yawning void that seemed to pull in reality itself. This was the Shyish Nadir, a nexus of unchecked necromantic power. Nagash, in a desperate attempt to salvage his ritual, hurled himself into the Nadir, trying to absorb and redirect the wild magic. For a moment, he succeeded. His divine form became wreathed in pure death energy. But it was not enough. There came a howl, like the screaming of every soul in creation, and the Black Pyramid exploded, not in fire and rubble, but in magic. Its energy cascaded across the mortal realms in a flood of corrupted ether. This was the birth of the Soul Wars. The detonation of the Great Work did not simply destroy Nagash's dream. It fractured reality. The barriers between the living and the dead were left permanently weakened. Souls, once destined for natural afterlives or divine judgment, now drifted astray. Many were sucked into the Nadir, others were seized by Nagash's gathering power. The laws that governed death, already tenuous, were now utterly broken. Graves across the mortal realms erupted with tormented dead. The skies became tainted with soul storms, and entire cities were swallowed by veils of ghostlight. What Nagash had failed to control, he would now exploit. The Soul Wars were his to command. From the chaos, a new army rose, not of flesh, but of despair. The Night Haunt, spectral legions bound by Nagash's will, began to sweep across the realms. These were no mere ghosts. They were manifestations of pain, betrayal, hatred, twisted echoes of the tormented dead, each bound into unlife by the god of death's malice and mastery. And so the world entered a new era, an age where death no longer meant peace, and where souls were no longer free. This is only the beginning. The Soul Wars were not sparked by battle, but by ambition, a god's need to reclaim what he saw as stolen. And while Nagash's great work ended in catastrophe, its consequences reshaped the mortal realms forever. The dead no longer rest. The living no longer sleep easily. The war for the soul of reality has begun. But this is only the beginning. If you've enjoyed this dive into the dark heart of undeath and divine will, don't forget to like the video, share it with fellow lore lovers, and subscribe to the channel for more tales from the edge of reality. Part 2 of our Soul War series is on the way, where we'll uncover the rise of the Ossiarch legions, the Shyish Nadir, and the true cost of tampering with the fabric of life and death. So ring the bell to stay notified, because in this war, even time has teeth.